Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, everybody. My name is Putri Sekar Cipto Rini. I am from Diploma 4 of Digital Office Administration of Class 2020 at University of Jakarta. Today, I would like to present to you my research with the title of Workload Analysis Study at PT Bahari dan Nusantara. Chapter 1, Introduction. Human resources are supporting factor for success in the company. As human resource drive the operational activity of the company. Therefore, there are needs to be supervision, evaluation, and attention to maintain the performance of human resource or the employee. According to Irawati and Carolina, a factor affecting performance included the mismatch of educational backgrounds with job, low employee commitment, low employee motivation, and high workload in the company. Among the factors mentioned by Irawati and Carolina, workload become a factor affecting performance. The selection of the research title is based on the numerous branches of PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara, which has about 7 branches. The research has conducted preliminary research and literature review. Thus, the researcher is interested in choosing the topic of workload for this research. And then the research question. The first is how is the workload distributed at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara? Second, how to overcome the workload at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara? Third, what are the factors influencing the workload at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara? And then the research objectives. They are to analyzing the workload distribution at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara. Second, to analyze method to overcome the workload at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara. And third, to analyze factor influencing the workload at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara. And then the theoretical benefits. The research results are expected to provide information, offer insight, enhance and develop theory, increase understanding of workload-related issue, and serve as reference for further research. And then the practical benefits for the researcher is to contribute to knowledge about workload. And then for the student, is expected to increase knowledge about workload within the scope of office work and assist in managing workload. The third, for the university, this research is expected to contribute to literature and knowledge source, serving as the reference for student and future research on similar topic. Four, the benefit for the company is to serve as an input for reviewing the workload assigned for employees, determining whether the workload received by employee is appropriate. And then chapter 2, the literature review. The definition of human resource. According to Dharma, human resource are the resource of organization consists of all the effort, skill, or abilities of everyone working in the organization. And then the definition of workload according to the regulation of the Ministry of Home Affairs number 12 of year 2008, that state workload is the amount of work that must be carried out by a position or organizational unit that is the result of multiplying the work volume and the time norm. And then according to COSIM, workload is a set of activity that must be complete by an organizational unit or position within a certain period of time. Therefore, it can be concluded that the workload encompasses all the physical and mental activity performed by the worker in fulfilling their responsibility and that is in organization. And then the factor influencing the workload, according to Gibson, they are time pressure. Time pressure can increase productivity but also become an excessive burden. And second, working hours, a busy continuous work schedule without rest or holiday can affect employee health. Third, role ambiguity, confusing role or acquiring role that affect employee perception of workload. Four, noise. noise disruption, concentration, and directly affect task achievement, thus increasing workload. Fifth, information overload. Too much information absorbed simultaneously can cause heavier workload. Six, the temperature overload. High air temperature also has a health impact that affect employees' workload if prolonged. Seven, repetitive action. Repetitive tasks lead to a boredom and monotony that ultimately resulting in lack of attention. Eight, responsibility. Responsibility creates job-related pressure thus become a psychological burden. And then the workload indicator. According to Joyo, they are target to be achieved. That the company goals influencing the work amount of work accepted by the employee. Second, work condition. The job condition encompass all the work environment and the physical endurance of worker in carried out their tasks. Third, standard working hours. Standard working hours refer to the time required to complete a task in accordance with the applicable work standard. And then the division of workload. According to Amrita, the division of workload is divided into four. There are proper employee placement. Placement means that the employee are placed in a section that in accordance with the employee's ability. Second, activity detail. A clear list of job and workflow make it easy for employee to work. Third, equal work. Workload that is in accordance with the portion and agreement on the employment agreement. Four, creating a management information system, which is a useful system to speed up the process of monitoring employees' work. And then the managing workload. Managing workload, according to the Leslie, there are four aspects. The first, increasing the working time. A working hour that are not balanced with the work cause employees often uh, do overtime. So increasing working hour can be solution of high workload, but it is not good for the balance between work and life for the employee. Second, setting limits. Set limits between time and space. That the time boundaries are the boundaries between the personal time and working time, while the space boundaries are the boundaries that separate home from work in the office. And lastly, negotiating work and deadlines. Negotiating work and deadlines is done if there is a workload of work, of a load of work. So it is necessary to negotiate time and prioritize with supervisor so that the work can be done properly. And then the impact of workload. According to Rini, the impact of workload and work stress can decrease someone's job satisfaction. He said that the workload and work stress have a negative effect on job satisfaction, meaning that an increasing in workload and work stress will lead to decrease in job satisfaction. And then the legal regulation on working hour, according in Indonesia, according on Article 81, number 23 of Job Creation Law, which amend Article 77 of the Labor Law, which state 1. Every employer must comply with the provision of working hour. Second, working hour as referred to in paragraph 1 included A. 7 hours a day and 40 hours a week for 6 working days in a week, or B. 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week for 5 working days in a week. And then the previous research, the literature review. From the result of the previous research can be concluded that partly workload influence job stress, performance, fatigue level, and other variables. However, there are also cases where the workload does not significantly affect performance and job satisfaction. Chapter 3, the research method. The research located in PT Bahari dan Nusantara, which located in Wisma BSK building of 10th floor at Jalan Abdul Muiz, RT 4 RW 8, Petojo Selatan, Gambir, Central Jakarta. The research timeline started from December of 2023 and done in May of 2024. Research design. This study adopt a qualitative approach with a descriptive method. Both primary and secondary data are used. Primary data is obtained from the interview, observation, and documentation, while the secondary data is obtained from the research journal, books, news, magazine, and other resource. Informants. Informants are selected using purposive sampling technique that based on specific consideration. In this study, there are a total of 4 informants, including 1 supervisor, 2 staff member, and 1 PMD personnel. And then data collection technique. Data collection technique is using interview conducted in semi-structured manner to allow in-depth exploration of information. Documentation is used to gather visual, verbal, and written information, and then the observation is utilized to gather data in the form of written report, as well as information observed, heard, and felt during the observation. And then the data validity technique. The data validity technique using triangulation. The triangulation is a technique that aims at enhancing the validity of theoretically obtained information. Triangulation involves conducting interview with supervisor, staff, PMD personnel to obtain perspective from different angles. And then the data analysis technique using the Miles and Habermas models, which involve in data collection, data reduction, presentation, and drawing conclusion from the acquired data. And then the result and discussion of chapter 4. The description. The research conducted at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara. So PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara is a company engaged in the field of ship agency that has been running for approximately 10 years. And then there are the participant table, which include finance and accounting department coordinator, finance and accounting department staff, and then the operation staff, and lastly the human resource management department staff. The data result. The division of workload. First, the placement of employee is in accordance with their ability, but not in accordance with the job description. And then the division of work is good, but the workload is quite high. And then the management of information system is helped to alleviate the monitor and integrated work. And then the workload management. The finance accounting department work targets are more demanding than those of the operation department. Second, employee feels the workload exceeds their capacity, and then employees are efficient in managing working time, but employee often work outside the working hours. The factor affecting the workload. There are the workload environment is good. And then the employee motivation is good with incentive and insurance benefit at work. And lastly, employees are satisfied, but they feel their workload is high. And then the research data discussion. The first is division of workload at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara, which the division of work is appropriate based on an employee educational background. However, it is not accordance with the job description where employees' work is their still overlapping with the work of other departments, namely the overlapping work in the general affair and people management department. And second, the workload management at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara. The first is target that must be achieved. In the finance accounting department, the target of completing work tends to be more than the operation department, where in the finance and accounting department doing financial work on each branch of the company. There are approximately 7 branches of the company that they are held, while there are only 2 employees in the finance and accounting department, and they are assisted by 1 intern, so that the workload in finance and accounting department um, is more heavier, which can cause stress in employee. This is supported by Kusmowijoyo theory that the greater the difference in time limits with existing work, the high level of stress are in employees. And then the working condition. Working condition at PT Bahari dan Nusantara are considered good by the employee, but in the practice, employee have difficult of working because they are overlapping job and lack of employee with other department job. However, it can still be overcome with the help from supervisor, co-workers, and also incentive from the company. And then standard work. Employees have been efficient in managing work time, but high work target cause employee often work overtime outside or working outside working hour. This in line with the theory of Deleuze that employee tend to work longer hours to avoid work done at home. This cannot be said to be good for employee because the time between work and personal life become unbalanced. And third, factor affecting the workload in PT Bali dan at PT Bali Dharma Nusantara. First is workload environment. The work environment at PT Bali Dharma Nusantara tends to be harmonious, so there are no difficulty faced by employees related workload. This is in line with the Wirayuda's opinion at negative work environment if there is employee interaction that cause conflict at work, while the positive work environment can achieve dynamic employee performance due to adjustment to challenge in the internal and external environment of the company. And then the motivation from supervisor and coworker affect the performance of employee and motivated employee to complete the tasks faster. This supported because feedback, praise, and assistance at work can increase enthusiasm and increase the ability of employee to managing their work. This is in line with Virayuda's theory that good motivation can encourage person to be able to take action aimed at meeting the needs of life as that person expected. And lastly, the job satisfaction. Overall, employee are satisfaction with their current workload because there is support from the supervisor and coworker who help in completing the work beside of the company provides benefit and also compensation. So employees are quite satisfied with their current job. This is in line with Virayuda's opinion, namely the more aspect of the work that are in accordance with the wishes of the individual, the higher job satisfaction. However, it cannot be denied that employee workload tends to be high due to the lack of employees. So there needs to be more structure and efficient division of tasks. Chapter 5 Closing. The conclusion. The division of employee workload at PT Bahari dan Nusantara is still not accordance with the employee's job description. Second, workload management is good, but high work target and a limited number of employees cause employees often work overtime. Second, motivation, job satisfaction, environment are factors that influence the workload. Implication. Uh, There are two implications. There are the theoretical implication and practical implication. The theoretical implication is expected to give insight and increase the scientific knowledge related to the burden of work on the company. Besides, this research is hoped to add in literature and provides information on further research. And then the practical implication. The workload analysis can help the company to know the condition of the workload on the employee and also on the company. By analyzing the company workload can increase the productivity of the company and also keep the well-being of the employees to stay efficient and performance stable. And then the limitation from the research, the first is the limitation of informants. This study uses only a few informants, so using more sample can increase its representation. Second, limitation of employee performance data. Employee performance data are required to obtain in-depth information such as performance of each employee, which is currently not available for researcher. The time limit. The time spent doing this research seems to be less to get more and more in-depth data about the workload of employee at PT Bahari Dharma Nusantara. And then the recommendation. In future research, it is expected that the number of research informant can involve more and more diverse informant to improve the validity of the data. Second, in future research, it is expected that the research can add data on employee performance, assist to learn about employee performance against the current workload. And lastly, the future research. It is expected that the researcher will be able to carry out research with a longer time to obtain more and more in-depth data. Well, thank you for your attention. That's all for me. See you.